What's up everyone, Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids, and if you've watched some of our other knife reviews, you're probably looking at this knife saying, it looks like it's a mess, what's going on? He usually just takes a knife out of the box and reviews it in the studio, and then takes it out and tests it. Well, for this review, we've turned that process around, so we've already taken this out in the woods, and we beat the living snot out of this thing. So what you're looking at is the Schrade SCH109. This is going to be new for 2015. It may be available toward the end of 2014, depending on how the production process goes, but we really beat this thing up. We're going to show you that footage in a couple moments, but let's start off and just give you some general information about the knife. So you've seen the details on the knife. One last thing before we actually show you the footage of using the knife is that I got a hold of this knife from Schrade because it kind of had a different look than a lot of the other Schrade knives that I've used and tested. So I wanted to get a hold of it. I like a knife that's got a nice wide blade. I just think it gives you a lot of different options for EDC tasks. And so I got a hold of this and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to put it through the paces. I'm going to just really beat it up to see how it holds up. And after you see the footage of how we tested it, I'll give you some final thoughts here in the studio. Alright, the Schrade SCH109, let's talk about deployment here. You got ambidextrous thumb studs and you got the flipper. To be honest, you're going to have to use this a bit, probably oil it, get some lubrication in there, because right now using just the flipper, it's about as far as it goes, and you can even actually hear a little bit of a like a creak, because it's just not moving freely. You can use the thumb studs, that's about as far as it's going to go too. If you do flip it and actually flick your wrist, you can get it to deploy like that. Alright, we'll do some cutting here using the 109. As is always the case, this is the sharpness that comes directly from the factory. So it does the job. You know, semi-aggressive cutting, and then when you want to do some of that finer work, the blade is pretty big. It's not a tiny little blade, so you want to be aware that if you're looking for something that's really, you know, a fine edge blade that's very small, this is probably not the one for you, but we can do some of that finer work even with this knife. Okay, let's work on tip strength a little bit here. Alright, you can stop. So we do have a little bit of a bend in the tip now. It's bending to the right. A little bit hard to see here, but it held up decently. Certainly didn't snap off, and I definitely worked it pretty hard. Alright, let's beat this thing up a little bit more. Okay, next test we're going to go through 2 pieces of paracord here, and then we'll double that over and do 4. So that's pretty decent. Let's see if we can get the 4 set up here. Nice job with the 109. So here's what your cuts look like. My buddy Nathan was just saying a little bit on the ragged side. Not terrible. They're not totally beat up, but pretty decent from the factory blade and the sharpness that you get right out of the box. Alright, our next cut is we're going to try to chop through some of this plastic just by swinging at it and see if we can hack through the end of this Schweppes bottle. Oh, we will get through this. We will. Alright, so for our next test, we're going to actually just heave this thing at the tree to see how it holds up to some real heavy-duty use and abuse.
So aesthetically, a little wear here, some nicks, some dings, definitely some scuffs. Clip's still secure. Thumb stud is now missing, I think one of those lower tosses. This is probably the most noticeable issue we got right now going on, is a little, not a little bit of wobble, I would say definitely a lot of wobble. It does still lock out, so you'd be okay there, but yeah, a lot of wobble there.
Our next test here as we torture the Schrade SCH109 is to put it through some steel. This is straight up steel, right?
Attempt to, yeah.
Yeah,
that's the mailbox. cover.
Yeah, it's a mailbox cover, so alright, we're going to see how it holds up. Okay, parting thoughts on the Schrade SCH109. The thumb stud is out. It was lost in the woods. It is what it is. But considering how aggressively we use it, I'm not surprised that the thumb stud came out. I would like to see that actually, more securely put in there. But again, based on what we did, I'm not shocked at all. I don't even hold it against Schrade. I will tell you the other thing is that the blade was loose after we, beat up on the knife. I have tightened that down, and it's perfect now. It's not loose at all. I just had to crank down that little bolt right here with a star key, and good to go. The other thing I will mention is that you will have to, as I said before, lube up that pivot point so that you can use the flipper a little bit more effectively without flipping your wrist. And then the last thought is just, you should know it is a pretty thick knife when it comes to the actual handle thickness. Compared to some of the other knives that Schrade puts out and other common EDC knives, it is a little bit thicker. So if you're looking for something very streamlined, you probably want to look in a different direction. Now, everything said and done, I think the SCH109 has held up pretty well considering how aggressively we used it. Again, if you want to get a hold of this, at the end of 2014 or into 2015 is when it will become available. Thanks as always for checking out our reviews here on YouTube. Please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids here on YouTube if you haven't done so already. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Tumblr and Instagram as well. More videos coming soon. Take care.